Hey there guys, so normally when I record these tutorials it is on brand new bits of movements for you beginners out there to hopefully increase your movement vocabulary. Today's going to be a little bit different though. We're going to focus on something that is essential to technique instead of a brand new move. See, I have a lot of beginners come through my classes here in DC, and no matter what, every session there's always a day when we wind up drilling planes, because whether you've been spinning for 5 minutes, 5 months, or 5 years, plane control is something that is absolutely essential to every single trick that you are ever going to play with. And quite frankly, it's like pliés in the dance world. No matter how hard you work, your planes are always going to be just a little bit off. So no matter how long you've been working on them, you always need to practice them still. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you guys 3 different drills that you can use to try and improve your plane control. Plane control itself really comes from wrist control. If you would imagine that there's kind of a straight line that goes across the palm of your hand, that straight line is really almost like an axle that the ploy spins around, right? So the orientation of that straight line tells you what the orientation of your plane is. Now that's great in theory, but how do we actually put that into practice? Well, here's a few ways. First and foremost, and I'm pretty sure that this is like the oldest exercise ever for working on plane control, you take a move that you've been working on that's been giving you some troubles and you try doing it up against a wall. Walk up to the wall, take 2 steps back, 2 little steps, not 2 big steps, just enough to get your hand through it, and start playing around with a trick that's been giving you problems. The great thing about this is that the human brain is kind of programmed to avoid proximity whenever possible. So just by the sheer act of being close to that wall, you'll find that your planes start to clean up a little bit automatically. You may find, however, that there are still places where your ploy will, hit the wall anyway. When that happens, the way to go about it is to slowly go back to the last position that you had before you hit the wall and see if you can slowly get yourself to that next position. Find that place where things went wrong and see if you can correct to the next position. It's not about getting through it as fast as you can, it's about getting through it as controlled as you can. Of course, this is also an excellent way to practice doing your behind the back planes, because it'll keep you honest. But of course, there's a whole lot of moves that we practice that involve moving the ploy around our bodies, or vice versa. And for that, I like this exercise. If you find yourself a patch of ground that's got a line on it, or that you can draw a line on, you start rotating the ploy directly above that line. Then, you're going to take a walk around that line. And when you're shifting from side to side, what you're really doing is something that harkens back to the very first beginner ploy tutorial that I ever recorded, which was on how to do turns. This is just tic-tacking. When you do the tic-tacs that I had in that video, the ploy moves across your body and your body stays in one place. When you switch which side of your body the ploy is on with this exercise, however, what shifts is your body, not your ploy. It's the exact same move otherwise, you're just moving your feet instead of moving your ploy across your body. And of course, this is one of those drills that you want to do walking both backwards and forwards around that line. And try and keep your ploy as flush to that line as you possibly can. Now, the third drill I'm going to show you guys today is based upon an old Nick Woolsey exercise. And this is a vastly more complex one, but this is that exercise that if you, say, do this 10 times before you start spinning as a warm-up, your ploy planes are going to improve so dramatically you will not even be able to believe it. The way it starts off is you get your ploy rotating forwards in wheel plane next to you. And you're going to imagine that there's essentially 8 points that are radiating out of your hand. There's a point forwards and backwards, there's a point left and right, and then there are 2 diagonals. There's the diagonal that goes back and forth from front left to back right, and the one that goes back and forth from front right to back left. Essentially, you're going to shift your poi planes between these 8 orientations. So I'm going to think of the side of my poise circle where it's going down as being the front. So right now, the front of my poi plane is pointing forwards. I'm going to try pointing it off to the diagonal that is front left, in which case I'm going to move it over like such. Next, I'm going to try moving it to the straight left point, in which case now the poi plane is oriented almost like it would be in butterfly, with the poi coming down through my center line. I'm now going to shift that front part of my plane diagonal back to my left, and it's starting to feel almost like a reverse buzzsaw at this point. It's not quite there, but it's getting close. Next, I'm going to pull it all the way back into reverse buzzsaw, pointing back at me, right? Now, the point where you switch from this butterfly to kind of reverse buzzsaw is kind of tricky, I'm not going to lie. The best way I know to kind of feel through that moment is as the poi is coming up on the other sides, you want to gradually pull it back at you. It's normal to try and push it away from you. Buck against that. Really think it's coming back towards me at that moment. So we're here in reverse buzzsaw, and we're going to do a quick tic-tac to return the poi to the outside. And now the part of the poi plane that's going down is pointed back right. We're now going to point it straight right, so now the poi is coming up through my center line. And now we're going to point it forwards right. At this point, you'll note that we're kind of close to doing almost a forwards buzzsaw, right? Well, let's finish the work. And now pull it into that forwards buzzsaw position before switching it back to the outside where we started, yeah? Okay, so the 8 points once again are forwards, diagonal left, straight left, diagonal back left, reverse buzzsaw, switch to the outside so that it's back right, straight right, forwards, and back out, yeah? Now, what's great about this exercise is that you can change it for any particular orientation that you want to work with. Let's say that instead of just practicing all these vertical planes, we instead wanted to add a horizontal element to it, in which case we could say, okay, I'm going to start top down, diagonal left right, horizontal, diagonal top right, vertical with it going reverse, and then I'm going to go diagonal up left, horizontal, diagonal up right, back to where I started, yeah? You can do this in any number of ways, and it'll help you get that plane control that you're looking for. So, I hope this has been really helpful to some of you guys out there. I know that this is not the sexiest stuff to practice because it doesn't give you anything new, but like I said, it will make what you've already got look that much cooler. So, thank you for watching, and I'll have a new tutorial for you guys next Friday. Peace.